Alright YouTube, it is time to get this party started. I just spent about 2 weeks with my family here in Florida, and I got a lot of stuff done that I needed to get done as far as taxes and stuff like that. And I am loaded up and I am ready to roll. So let's get on with it. Glad to get back on the road again. I'm going to start this thing up and let it run a little bit. If I don't let it run for about 2 to 3 minutes before... Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Alright. Well, we know what they say about Jeeps. Just empty every pocket. Just put the keys in and turned the ignition, and I have nothing. So I'm going to test the battery, but I'm going to throw the voltmeter onto the battery and we will go from there. Alright, so we have the positive and negative hooked up on the battery terminal, and I'm getting 12.62 from the battery. So this is not the battery. Actually 12.6 is the minimum. My charger was plugged into the cigarette lighter adapter for the last 2 days, and I haven't started a Jeep, so 12.6 is pretty good after 2 days of running that charger. So the next step would be to take the starter out and have it test it. But I am going to go underneath of the Jeep first and test the starter to make sure it's getting power. And the first thing I'm going to do that is I'm going to go down there underneath the Jeep, and I'm going to hook the voltmeter up underneath, and I will let the readings come up here so you guys can see the reading up here. I'm going to check the wire going from the battery to the starter, and then I will check the wire from the ignition to the solenoid. The wires are running down to the starter itself. I'm checking the positive wire that runs from the battery to the starter, and it has power. So we know it's not the positive wire, it's not corroded. Next thing would be to check the power going to the solenoid with the key on and key off. So let me get that hooked up and I'll get right to the video. Okay, so I now have the key in the on position, and it's running to the solenoid, and I have nothing. And I am going to try to leave this. There's no way for me to do that with the camera. I'm going to have someone turn the key and see if the solenoid gets any power when they turn the key. Alright, go ahead and turn it. Is it turned? Alright, with the key turned to the start position, there is zero power going to the solenoid. That is going to indicate that it is a ignition switch problem. And more than likely it is the ignition switch actuator pin. So I'm not even going to take it apart yet. I'm going to go straight to O'Reilly's, get an ignition switch actuator pin, and install it. I'm sure that's what it is. I'll include a picture here at the end of the video to show you what it looks like, and I'll try to get some video of me installing that as well. Okay guys, so I took the steering column apart, and it was basically a part that runs from the key cylinder over to the ignition itself, with the ignition switch. And what it does is the bar that broke is what unlocks the steering wheel, and it looks like when they made it out of some type of cheap pot metal. So I have the new switch in, and the vehicle is starting. I did not get any video of me replacing the actuator pin. There's plenty of videos of that on YouTube already. So I just wanted to try to keep this short and skip right to what the problem was, and the Jeep is now starting fine. I did pull the starter out and take it to O'Reilly's with me to have it tested, just to make sure that it wasn't the starter as well. because I did hear some hesitation in the Jeep as I was starting it the past couple of weeks after driving through that storm that I recorded. I was driving through a lot of water and flood water, and it seemed like the starter wasn't really starting the motor the way it should. And the starter did fail under load. So I went ahead and replaced the starter and the ignition switch actuator pin, and the Jeep's firing up fine. So the bad news is that I tweaked my back. I guess I need to start working out my back a little bit better. There's some muscles that basically where the hips and the backbone can join together, and I pulled those muscles, and it hurts like hell when I even walk or bend or anything like that. So it looks like I'm going to be here until that heals. But everything's starting running fine, and I am going to go lay down because, like I said, my back is in a lot of pain right now. And it's worse when I stand uneven, like on unlevel ground or uneven ground, or if I try to use my back muscles to pull my torso back up from being bent over. So I know it's not a disc because I can bend over fine. I just can't really lift my torso back up from being bent over. So I'm sure there's some muscle strain in there. So it just gives me another goal to work on those muscles and get them back in shape.